Nevada voters this month received mailers about how to vote by mail in the upcoming election, but the pamphlets were found to contain incorrect information. They were sent out by the U.S. Postal Service.
Nevada voters received a mail with incorrect voting details. It recommended that they request a mail-in or absentee ballot at least 15 days before Election Day. It also advised them to add postage to the envelope used to return the ballot if needed. But Nevada Secretary of State says the recommendations aren't accurate for Nevada voters. Every registered voter in the state will receive a mail-in ballot for the November 3rd election. That means voters don't need to request them. Also, all envelopes for returning ballots include prepaid postage, meaning voters don't need to add it themselves. According to a statement, Nevada Secretary of State office says it wasn't told the mailers would be sent out. It also wasn't asked to give input on the recommendations given by the mailer. President Trump has repeatedly criticized states like Nevada for mass mailing ballots. The state's officials struggled with hosting its June primary. In one county alone, over 220,000 mail-in ballots were never delivered.
New York's MTA will now be giving $50 fines to riders not wearing face masks. The purpose is to increase ridership and to pressure the remaining few into complying with the mask requirement. NTD's Don Tran talked with some New Yorkers to get their reaction.
Over 90% of riders have worn a mask in New York's public transportation system, but the MTA is now trying to get everyone's face covered. Starting today, anyone not wearing a mask will be issued a $50 fine. Some New Yorkers think the fine is just.
I think it should be $100 because I see people right now in the street, for example, that don't wear masks and they're spitting. You don't think that spit is just gonna be airborne for a while. So I get mad when I see that happen. Now when I get into the train, into the MTA system, and I see people without masks, that's sort of kind of disrespectful to everybody else.
Despite the large percentage of people wearing masks, ridership is still low. The total estimate of ridership on subways, buses, and the Long Island Railroad is about 70% lower from last year. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says it's because people are nervous about getting on public transit.
This has happened, by the way, everywhere across the globe. When urban areas have reopened, people have tended to commute by car rather than using public transportation because they're nervous about public transportation.
Some people believe the mask enforcement will make people more willing to get on public transit.
Yeah, because I feel people are loosening up. They're not, you walk around, less people wearing masks than they used to. I think it's important to wear a mask.
The MTA says the fine is the last measure they want to take to ensure all riders are complying with the mask requirement. It has had personnel throughout its transit system giving out free masks to people so they can avoid the fine altogether. The agency has made available 4 million free masks from the state of New York and city of New York at station booths. Mask compliance will be enforced by Transit Authority Police, NYPD, and bridge and tunnel officers. Don Tran, NTD News, New York.
The search continues for a gunman who ambushed 2 deputies in Los Angeles over the weekend. The sheriff is calling for civic leaders to use their platforms to support the criminal justice system instead of hate.
Law enforcement leaders in Los Angeles are calling for people to tone down the anti-police rhetoric. It's after a gunman shot and wounded 2 LA County Sheriff's deputies in their squad car over the weekend.
Well, my concern is that they're out there doing their job, and yet we have people fanning the flames of hatred and just turning up the volume when we don't need to. We need to be turning it down.
The president of the LA Sheriff's Association says there's no justification for what happened.
But when you're sitting there doing paperwork and providing safety for the community, and somebody from the public comes out and ambushes you and tries to kill you, there's no valid explanation for that. That's not going to resolve anything.
Anti-police rhetoric followed the injured deputies to the hospital on Saturday, where a handful of protesters gathered outside. The 2 deputies are expected to recover. The department announced a $100,000 reward for information leading to an arrest.
A team of Australian scientists uses a sniffer dog to rescue koalas in trouble. They're starting to prepare for a season of dangerous wildfires. December and January is the height of summer in Australia. This year, scientists hope to avoid another high death count of koalas from bushfires. University of Sunshine Coast Detection Dogs for Conservation is led by Bear, a border collie and Australian cattle dog cross.
The bushfire season has already started, and we had a few already called. So we're just monitoring and preparing to jump into action if we are needed.
They have saved more than 100 koalas from late 2019 to early 2020. During that time, the country experienced its worst summer of forest fires. At least 33 people died. Some 6,000 koalas were killed and thousands of acres of their habitat destroyed.
So we currently have 4 detection dogs, and they all have their specialty. So they're all different.
The other 2 are habitat dogs. They map out where koalas live. Another one is trained for genetics. She helps to collect samples which are used for molecular analysis. And Bear is a koala detection dog. He will be used in the northern state of Queensland. It did not experience the same destruction as other states last year, but has been labeled a risk in the summer ahead. Last year's fires razed more than 37 million acres of bushland across Australia's southeast. NASA says Earth and Earth's twin share even more qualities. Researchers have found a certain significant gas in Venus's atmosphere. The particular compound is phosphine. On Earth, the flammable gas occurs when organic matter breaks down. It is also produced by bacteria that do not need oxygen, like organisms living in wetlands. Either way, that means something could be alive on Venus's scorching surface. Venus is usually called Earth's twin because it's similar in size to Earth.